My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. In his soliloquy, Shakespeare's immortal and tragic Hamlet said, "To die, to sleep perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub, for in this sleep of death, what dreams may come? Dreams, some delight, some cause concern, and some are fearsome. Dreams are the secret language of the unconscious, and if we learn that language and explore those dreams, we can enrich and empower our lives." My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, Dr. Doris E. Cohen, says we can learn to harness the power of the brain to uncover a life of greater richness and meaning. Doris has been a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist in private practice for more than 30 years, treating thousands of clients. Her approach uses therapy, hypnotherapy, past life regressions, and dream analysis. A certified healer, metaphysical intuitive, and communicator with guides and angels of light, Doris has given more than 20,000 medical, spiritual, and relationship readings. She's also conducted numerous workshops and has lectured nationally and internationally. She joins us this evening to discuss her new book, Dreaming in Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. Please join me in welcoming to Destination Unlimited, Dr. Doris E. Cohen. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Victor. Thank you for this nice introduction.
And so, good evening. So please tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to combine traditional clinical psychology and psychotherapy with metaphysical counseling.
You know, the turning point really always occurs regarding self. You see, so as a clinical psychologist and a therapist, I started working out with children and adolescents and specialized in this, and then I moved and started specializing with adults and worked as a consultant with typical psychotherapy, using a number of different approaches and techniques and so forth, was when I became aware of the reality of past lives. I read a book that was really an eye-opener and then became aware of the work of Edgar Cayce, who was an American psychic who died in the 1940s. And his information and his guidance is impeccable and has been breathtaking. So I got into my own therapy with a therapist who was using past life regression for a year and a half. The changes, the insights, the understanding about myself became so profound that I said, this is what I need to start doing. And that really began to open the door to the unconscious, you see. Because if you just do cognitive behavior therapy, which is you define the problem, you suggest a few options to the client to give a tool or two that is doable and more or less easy to execute, it never reaches the depths, it never reaches the unconscious, and you never get a handle on why are you behaving that way, why are you feeling anxious, why are you feeling depressed, and what can you do about it in this life. And when you begin to access information about past lives that are holding you back, you see. So all the cognitive behavior therapy, which is really, the in thing, the soup du jour, so to say, of the present, never gets to any of these levels. And that is how I began to involve. And I started getting training and workshops in learning about guides and angels, and really started using dreams and dream work extensively.
And what was your dream experience like when you started doing that?
I used to remember about 3 dreams a year. That's kind of pathetic. And when I joined the group and we would meet, it was a group associated with the work of Edgar Cayce. And one of the things we always did was to share our dreams. But there I learned how to recall dreams. You see, some people think, I never dream, or maybe I remember 1 dream a year. I used to remember 3 dreams a year. When I said it's pathetic, it's because how helpful or informative is any of that? Not. And I will tell you how to recall your dreams. Once you begin to practice this, which is what I did, within about 3 weeks, I was remembering 3 dreams a week. And when you do the calculation, that's about 150 a year. That's exponentially rich, amazingly informative. And that's how it started. And it's very important not only to learn how to recall dreams, but to record them. And you can do so easily. Would you like me to tell you how to recall the dreams?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is what you do. When you go to bed, not when you first get into the bed, but just before you're about to fall asleep, when your eyelids are sort of fluttering, you say out loud, I will remember my dreams clearly and well and write them down when I wake up. Or you may want to press a button, say them on your iPhone. It doesn't matter. You say it 3 times. Why is it important to say it 3 times and to say it out loud? Don't just think it. Don't just write it. It doesn't work well enough. When you say it out loud, your brain, you see, hears it as a self-hypnotic suggestion. So you go to bed as soon as you awaken. Before you go to the bathroom and you empty out one end of your being, you're going to empty out the other as well. So as soon as you awaken, what you need to do, have a notebook by the bed, press a button, and just write or record verbally whatever comes into your awareness at this point. Don't judge it as, I don't think it's a dream, I don't know, what did I dream? When you start doing that, you're losing the essence of what's going on. When you just write down or you say whatever comes into your awareness, at that time you're still, in terms of your brain waves, in alpha. When you're in alpha, you're in a semi-conscious state still. Therefore, you're still connected to the depth where you're retrieving those experiences, or whether it's the colors, the words, the images, and it doesn't matter how minimal, how brief that recall might be. If all that comes into your awareness, you wonder, and then a patch of blue. Okay, so write down a patch of blue, or say a patch of blue. And then later on in the day, think about it. Just read it, let it sort of sit with you. What would you associate with a patch of blue? The majority of people say, blue sky. When do we have a blue sky? What do we associate with a blue sky? Oh, nice weather, or, a promising experience. The sky is blue. It's a nice day. It's not like cloudy or snowing or raining. You see what I mean? Just from that one tiny bit of a flash, you begin to open the door and start getting the essence of the dream.
Which is part of what you call in your book the 7 steps to improve, remember, and recall and interpret dreams. And we'll touch upon those a little later in the interview. But right now, let's talk a little bit about the foundation of dream psychology. Did that originate with Freud and Jung, or is that a more recent field?
No. Both Freud and Jung talked about psychology. It's really Freud who opened the door primarily. And, as a clinical psychologist, of course, I became familiar with the work of Freud. I'm a clinician, the work of Carl Jung. But I was most unimpressed, especially, carrying it out as a therapist with patients. the work is so, it's too abstract. It's too difficult for people to relate to, and they don't have, the patients have never been given tools to do it on their own, and that's what I wanted to do. Keep it simple. When I work with my guides and my angels, they always say, Doris, keep it simple, keep it simple. So that's why I wanted to really begin to work on dreams in a way so that the unconscious is the right brain, in a very structural way. The left brain is the rational, the logical. These are the area on the left side is where the areas of speech and talking and interacting take place. You see, that's why it's both sides of the brain. So yes, Freud really, they say, he opened the road, the royal road, to the unconscious through dreams. That is very valid. But the work of making it simple, accessible, sides of the brain, no one has talked or connected those two easily, simply, and in a practical fashion, making it practical. This is seminal work, you see.
I see. My guest this evening on Destination Unlimited, Dr. Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. And we'll be back with more of Doris after these words from the OMTimes Radio Network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Yelito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold
I want to
day.
be a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this evening, Dr. Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. So, Doris, tell us, how did you start learning to interpret dreams?
See, I have a real sense of imagination, and I love to, I also paint, so that's the creative process. And when I started looking, because in my initial few years as well, my specialization at the beginning of my work was with children and adolescents. When you want to talk to an adolescent, you're not going to talk in abstraction. You lose their attention. You need to be simple, direct, albeit caring, yes, indeed, but you need to bring it down to the nitty-gritty and keep it simple. That's how I began to think. How am I going to explain this concept to a child? Okay, if it's an apple, okay, what does an apple feel like? You like an apple? Yeah, I like an apple. Okay, you bite into an apple. Oh, it's juicy, it feels good, I like it, and it makes you healthy. You see, by doing this and then rendering the symbols or the images to something very practical, very simple, it became the process of starting to learn the language of symbols. I also communicate with loving guides and angels of the light, and so it's been very, very interesting, because when I check things in the unconscious, it always is a wonderful source of double-checking, triple-checking, you see what I mean? So it was initially to get it to the language of understanding what are these symbols all about and what might they be, is to render it into simple language, simple English. When you do that, you cross over. You know, there is a bridge of actual cells, neurons in the brain from the right to the left, okay? And it's called the corpus callosum, which means the thick body. By the way, you know, women, females, right to left, left to right, right to left, more than males. So whatever that implies, we can address that at another time. But when you cross over from the right to the left, we have language if you already can talk, if you already can read and write. You see, you've developed the left. So when we make simple and easy some of the images in English or whatever language you're speaking, that's the bridge that needs to be crossed in order to begin to understand what does it mean if I have a dream. It burns down completely. I dreamt that my neighbor's house, which was very close to mine, burned down completely. It's scary. You wake up, that's a nightmare. You're shaking. What is a fire? A fire burns things down. In the dream, it destroyed it completely. You see, so when you just keep it simple and what is a fire? And then what can a fire do? You know, there are the horrendous fires of destruction in the forest and in the woods in California, and periodically, you know, they keep recurring. But also fire get rid of toxins or old growth, okay? So if you think about it as old growth or toxins, so there are aspects of purification and cleansing in fire, you see? So if my neighbor's house burned down to the ground, and let's say I had a lot of issues with my neighbor, is it that I hope their house burns down? No, not really, hopefully not. However, it might be that, because remember, the dreamer is always dreaming about the dreamer. You're always dreaming. Whatever impact the neighbor has had on me, if the neighbor has been kind of, sort of a pain in, really aggravating, irritating, they play music loudly, I have tried to interact with them and hope that they would be attentive or thoughtful or considerate, and they haven't. So maybe what I need to do, since this approach has not worked in waking life, maybe I need to bring down and clear completely in my own more strongly and loudly. So maybe I need to draw the blinds and simply perhaps close windows when they start to play the music. You see what I mean? Or maybe begin to hear some of that music. It might be a very curious and interesting introduction into my own awareness of what some of the music might be about. Or interact with my neighbor and say, just tell me, I hear you play this particular kind over and over. Tell me about it. and that would begin to cleanse. My reaction to that noxious stimulus that has been aggravating me. You see what I mean? This is a very simple little example of something that may seem, oh, it's so serious, it's a fire, it's terrible. And the fire is very traumatic. God forbid, it can be very destructive. But your unconscious is saying you need to bring it down to basics. You need to get rid of whatever it is that you've been doing about this subject completely, you see.
So in this way, what we're saying is the message of the dream and dreams are very important.
Absolutely. You know, when we begin to pay attention, and I'll give you some other examples that are so valuable as well. When we begin to pay attention to our dreams, we're literally opening up to infinitely richer, deeper, amazing sources of guidance, of understanding that are inside self. Inside self. Your unconscious watches out for you, protects you, and is constantly giving you messages to help you. Nightmares. Nightmares can be described as the following. It's your unconscious knocking at the door. You don't pay attention. You're not recalling your dreams. It knocks a little loud. You still blithely keep going. You don't pay attention, you don't pay attention. Finally, think about it, because everything in God's world makes sense if we look long enough and deep enough. So the unconscious finally is banging at your door, open up, with intensity. Okay? That's the nightmare. Guess what? When we have a nightmare, you wake, you remember what it is that you were dreaming about. You see what I mean? So let's say a very common nightmare is running away. You're running down the street. Someone is pursuing you. They have a knife. You're terrified. And you're running. And you're breathless. And you're running. And you're crying for help. And no one is attending. Okay? That's a very common nightmare. If you don't pay attention to this nightmare, you're not really paying attention to where is it in life that you feel, in waking life, that you are feeling helpless or powerless, and that you're being pursued and you feel very isolated, because as you're crying out in the dream, no one is coming to help you. You feel completely alone. Okay?
Go ahead.
Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the amazement of the dream is that it's opening up all those doors to help you. By the way, research has been done on the brain and on the unconscious for over 50 years, 60 years. Work to identify, like REM, rapid eye movement, was done in the 1950s by a psychologist by the name of Klein. And that was the beginning, using electrodes to start and identify when people dream. That's why we can say with certainty everybody dreams between 5 and 8 dreams every night. We may not recall them, but we dream anyway, you see.
What do you say? What do you say to people? I have a lot of friends who say, I can't dream, I don't dream. What do you say to people like that?
I say it's BS. Those words on the radio or publicly, because I'm going to try and watch my language, because it's ridiculous. In modern times, they have done research using functional brain MRIs, my dear, that literally indicate and show that 95% of our behavior is determined by our unconscious. Then it behooves us to start paying attention.
Absolutely.
And we dream. Now, when do we dream less? When are dreams dampened down? If we are taking, for example, anxious or depressed and they are taking medication, well, the effect is to dampen your depression and your sensitivity during the day. But guess what? People who take medication for anxiety or depression tend to have more frequent nightmares. So, this now also brings up something else, and that's the law. And these are God's laws in the world. The law of the pendulum. When you're at one extreme, We're always trying to seek balance, consciously, unconsciously, doesn't even matter. Always seeking balance somewhere in center. When your emotions have been dampened throughout the day, guess what? Your unconscious is saying, okay, if you're going to push me down, I'm going to have to kick butt at night. You have more intensity at night in order to try and balance it out. You see, because there is always a push to express. Think about the breath. When we breathe, we take in a breath. If you hold your a fantastic diver, or swimmer, you can hold your breath for longer. After, a minute or two, most people can't even hold it that long. You're going to bust. You have to exhale. It's the same principle with emotions. If you feel certain things and you're not expressing them in whatever form that might be comfortable for you, or you express them somehow, guess what? You're going to feel like you're going to bust. So your body does it for you.
Absolutely. My guest on Destination Unlimited, Dr. Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Sides of the Brain. Doris, please tell our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about your work.
Okay. I have published 2 books, Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, and my other book before this one is Repetition, Past Lives, Life, and Rebirth. You can get both of them through Amazon very readily. And just make sure that when you log in, it's Doris E. Cohen, middle initial E as in Edward. It's Eliana Cohen with a C. Get it through Amazon, and Amazon has just about, it has reached all parts of the world, let alone all parts of America. So that's easy access. And also my website is drdorisecohen.com, and there are some changes that have been taking place recently, so please be patient if there are some corrections, but you can always get to it.
And Doris, how can people reach you?
They can also reach me on a voicemail, 1-556-1781, and leave a message, and then I or my assistant will get back to them.
And we'll be back with more of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain after these words from the OMTimes Radio Network.
This is OTR-FM. Part of the IOM Radio Network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Older buildings may contain asbestos and lead. Pipe or other insulation, ceiling tiles, exterior siding, roof shingles, and sprayed-on soundproofing may contain asbestos. Disturbing materials containing lead-based paint may release lead dust into the air. If your home contains asbestos or lead-based paint, and any of these materials have been damaged or will be disturbed during cleanup, talk to public health authorities. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this evening, Dr. Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. Doris, how important is sufficient sleep to the dreaming process?
Okay. It is extremely important because what they have established through research is that when we dream, and dreams are very important to have, and I'll mention the physiological and psychological outcome. We were talking about the psychological and that the amazement of opening up different worlds to you. But the physiological aspects of dreaming, and I'll mention the importance of sleep in a minute. The physiological aspects are such that when babies are asleep and they're dreaming, what they're releasing is growth hormone. It enhances growth hormone. Well, when you're a baby, you need to grow at every level, physically, neurologically, your blood, your cells, your brain, your digestive tract, your muscles, your skin, etc., etc. So it enhances the health and the intention of that soul living in a physical body, in a human body, you see. When we sleep, we go through different stages. We start out when you and I are talking now, we are in beta. That's 8 to 12 cycles per second. Okay, we're talking, we're interacting. When we start to go to sleep, we begin to go into alpha. Alpha, 4 to 8 cycles per second, you see. These cycles have been tested at different times, so sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, but it's more or less that. But when we go from being awake and alert, the left side of the brain, then we go into the part of alpha. When we go into alpha, we go into a semi-restful, gentler, slower pace and slower cycles in the brain. We begin to have REM. REM is rapid eye movements, which is the dream. Sometimes in that phase, okay? When we go into the deeper, and as we said, there are different cycles of sleep. If you don't sleep, you never get to the deeper levels. When you don't get to the deeper levels of sleeping, alpha, and after alpha there is theta, and after theta the deepest is delta. And when we avoid or we don't sleep enough, we don't get to the deeper levels of the dream, you see, of the sleep. When we don't, physiological functions are not taking place. And as we said, there are physiological functions that also, when you dream, the hormones that you're releasing and the functions of the dreaming in REM and in some of the deeper levels is to enhance learning and memory. So you see, those associations have been established, as I said, in labs regarding your brain, regarding your dreams, regarding your learning capacity. That when people are asked to recall certain, simple little tasks or unimportant things, if they've gone into a dream state first, they can recall always better than people who have not allowed themselves to dream. And we dream in alpha, you see, and we dream in theta. Typically, we come back up if we're in a much deeper level of the night. We come back up, in other words, a somewhat faster, never very fast, cycle of your brain. And we go through those cycles about maybe 5 times, sometimes 6 or even 7 times a night. It's like we slow down and then we go deep, then we come back up, we have a dream, then we start slowing down again, and we go deeper, and then we have another dream. And those who can dream very effectively in the deep non-REM cycles, because there are also, infrequently we can dream in the deeper levels as well. Those who can do that are, for example, who can meditate and who can be, completely change and move their brainwaves, their hormones, their reactions. Classically, we hear that they can actually be on the Himalayas, and there is snow and wind, and it is bitterly cold. They will have maybe a blanket, maybe not, and whatever is falling on their bodies just melts away, and they don't suffer at all in terms of all these horrendous weather conditions. To control their functions so effectively because they can move their brain waves very effectively when they're awake, and they can move them to levels that you and I will access only when we are in deep sleep. They can do it while they're still awake.
And to that end, do people who have a regular meditation practice, are they better sleepers and dreamers?
They're more likely to be better sleepers, more likely. So it can enhance their ability to finally go. If they are meditating, but they're not dealing with the deeper issues of why they're angry at their mate, why they're feeling restless or agitated about something else when they're not meditating, if they don't address the core themes, it's not going to be that much. It's nice that they're meditating. It's not necessarily going to help in those ways of sleeping at deeper levels, you see.
Is there
dreaming more so.
I'm sorry. Is there an explanation as to why REM or rapid eye movement takes place during dreams?
It's an explanation. It's a completely normal function, but when we try to explain it, this is what is said. The largest area in the brain, because we have areas in the brain that specialize for vision, for auditory functions, for your sense of smell, your sense of touch, for your thinking, for your speech, etc. Okay? The largest area for human beings, the largest area of specialization in the brain is the visual cortex. It's called the cortex, okay? Is the largest. In other words, it's the most powerful, the most effective, the most functional, the most vivid of all of our functions. So rapid eye movement, it's like you're fluttering your eyes, you're using your eyes to experience the dream, and it is an expression of the richly active visual cortex. That's why it's if the area that would be activated would be, let's say, auditory, okay? And you would not be able to have the time out and the sleep. There are very serious consequences to not sleeping. But the visual, you have the images, but it does not disrupt the depth or your experience of restfulness through the hormonal functions, the neurological balancing, and also the emotional experience. That is why REM is so powerfully present, because it's an expression of how the divine, how God designed us.
Absolutely. Now, in dreaming on both sides of the brain, we touched upon this a little bit earlier. You offer a 7-step process for people to become more proactive in their dreaming. What are some of the other steps that people can do?
Okay. The most important piece is you start out by recalling your dream and recording it as soon as you awaken. As I said earlier, we were saying how to do that, right? Okay. Sometime later in the day. You don't have to do it right there and then. First thing that comes on, don't overthink it. What is a very useful metaphor is a newspaper. What does a newspaper do? A newspaper deals with current events, okay? It's always reporting current events. That's why your dream is always related to whatever is uppermost in your life when you're awake. Also, if you just want to glance at a newspaper, there are always headings, to the articles in the newspaper. So the article or whatever title you're going to give the dream, invariably, and if you just kind of say it or just do it, it's very interesting how it will always reveal the primary message or sum it up as the heading of an article would in a newspaper. So just give it a title.
A headline, a short, punchy headline.
Yes, and don't overthink it. There is no right or wrong answer. The first thing that comes to your mind, running down the street, escaping. Okay, another one, for example, of the very common dreams is you're naked, and all of a sudden you find yourself in public, either at the movie theater or somewhere, and you say, oh my God, I'm not wearing anything, and it's a very common dream. So what is the exposure? This is exposure.
Absolutely.
And as you want to describe it, how would you feel if you were naked at a movie theater? Embarrassed, uncomfortable. Okay, 1 or 2 words, and that would be the title, a quickie. The next piece, after you give it the title, read the recorded or written, and you don't have to have epistles. It doesn't have to be a whole book. You can write as briefly as you want, and your unconscious will still guide you to do it meaningfully, okay? Read it out loud slowly. I dreamt I was going to a movie. Okay, what is a movie? Do I like movies? I don't like movies. I was going with a friend, and I agreed to go to a movie. I can't stand horror movies, but she said, okay, it's Halloween. I with us. And I said, I can't be bothered. Do you see? Once you begin to say it out loud slowly, you become aware of the relevance or the meaning of what is a movie, okay? Say it slowly and say it out loud. Now, consider what is uppermost in your life right now. What is the most important thing that is happening in your waking life at this time? Are you looking for a job? Are you going through a difficult time with your mate or with your son or with your father, ailing parent? This is really what is uppermost for you. Your dreams will be about this, without a doubt.
And we're going to touch on more of the 7 steps from Doris E. Cohen's book, Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, after these words from the OMTimes Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Change and growth are part of natural life, and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown-up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
And we're back on Destination Unlimited. My guest this evening, Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. So, Doris, before the break, you were telling us some of the 7 steps that you list for becoming more proactive in dreaming. What's the next step?
Okay, step 1, you recall it, you record it. Okay. Step number 2, you give it a title. Towards the later on in the day. You don't have to do all that in the morning because it will be unwieldy and too much work for most of us to try and get this done right then. And then you read, step number 3, you read the dream slowly out loud. Your brain hears it. You hear it. And when you read it slowly, your own brain, your own unconscious will begin to give you the intention as well. What is this about, you see? Step number 4, consider what is uppermost in your waking life right now. Are you going through a difficult time because you've been given a kind of iffy report by your physician, and you need to go through additional tests, and nowadays they don't know every other condition. It might be serious, might be cancer, might be this, might be that, and you're just getting anxious and worried. Believe me, your unconscious will deal with that for sure. You see? So it would be related to whatever is uppermost in your waking life. Step number 5, describe your dreams, objects, and qualities as if you were talking to a Martian. and this may sound, what has the Martian got to do with my unconscious or my dream? Because we take for granted things that we use or we adapt to or we engage with. But that would really be very useful if we try to describe them to a Martian who doesn't know. A very simple, simplistic example is a sofa, okay? So let's say you dream of a sofa and you're standing near the sofa and you keep trying to sit and you can't sit on it. There are some spots aggravated because your back is beginning to hurt, okay? So this is the dream. You tell the Martian, okay, what is a sofa? The Martian doesn't know what a sofa is. So if you just say a sofa, it's a sofa, something to sit on. It's a little more than that. A sofa is not only something to sit on. Usually we have a sofa, an item, a piece of furniture to sit on, but typically in a living room or in an office or in an area. Typically a sofa will sit with other people. I might say it is, and I might use it as an armchair, if it's very comfortable, you see. A chair is only for me, an armchair is for me and more comfortable. A sofa is usually where 2 or 3 or more people are sitting. So if I'm standing next to it in the dream, and it's a sofa. So I tell the Martian, this is an item, this is a piece of furniture, for people to sit in the way we typically live and interact with each other. In the dream, I'm standing alone, and I'm having trouble finding any comfort on it. Do you see already what this may be indicating? Mm-hmm. That in my waking life or in my life, I might feel sort of isolated or separated from those I live with or interact with, because I'm just standing there. I'm not able to sit on it, you see? Mm-hmm. So I'm using very simple words, but once we begin to tell the Martian what is a sofa, the intention of the dream begins to be revealed very easily and very simply. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. Shall I continue with the second step?
Please, yes.
Okay. Describe your dreams objects, as we said, that was step number 5, as if you're talking to a Martian. 6. Step number 6, summarize the message from the unconscious. So what is the unconscious saying in that dream about the sofa, let's say? I feel left out. My back is hurting. I am not getting enough support.
Absolutely.
That's the message. Mm-hmm. Because, see, otherwise, I can just sit and relax, but I'm alone. Whatever you're going to do with the dream, don't do it right away in the morning, because if you're in a rush, and all of us, whether we work at home or outside the home, whether we work or we don't, we have routines. We need to get to the routine, take care of ourselves or other people, or go to work, and all of these things are left brain functions that take our attention away from just staying put. At the end of the day, take just a few minutes. Do it kind of quickly and simply. Keep it simple. And then so much of it will begin to come out. Finally, step 7, consider the dream life. In other words, what is happening in my life right now? I'm feeling left out. I'm standing by the sofa. I don't feel that those that I live with really are considerate or giving me the support. So maybe either I need to make sure I ask for what I need, okay? In waking life, I might want to say, I really need some more support about wanting to have some more lightness in my life. I really need to go to a funny movie. I don't want to just go see horror movies, you see. I don't care if it is Halloween or not. You can ask for what you want. Or you can say, I really need to talk about, in terms of applying it to waking time, I'm going to need to get some help, or I want to express what's bothering me that I feel kind of on the outside, and I want to exhale, relax, and sit with those that matter to me in my life. My
Absolutely.
sofa, in my living room.
Absolutely. A place of comfort. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Let's talk about some of the spicier dreams that people have. What about somebody who has a dream about having an affair?
Okay. Now, what is an affair? An affair is having an intimate relationship, whether it's male or female, it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter, outside of whatever formal or legal or, overt relationship you're in. If you're, let's say, 22 and you're having a relationship, let's say you're a 22-year-old young woman, you started dating a young man and you became sexual. That's not really, we don't refer to this as an affair. We say you're getting intimate, you're having a relationship. An affair is if you're already married or committed and you have a relationship outside of that. Typically, because it is outside of that, if you're dreaming that you are having an affair, so you're dreaming about wanting to connect, to get close to somebody, to something, even though it may be outside and not so acceptable in waking life, outside relationship in waking life, your marriage, your commitment, your partner, your husband, your wife. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So here is Janie, and she's been married for 20 years, and she dreams that she's having an affair with the neighbor who is really young and kind of buff. Okay? She's never had an affair with anybody. Her husband is kind of rotund and has a big belly. He's kind and he's a sweet guy, but he has a big belly. And the neighbor is really buff. And whenever he's out there, looks outside, ooh, that's kind of nice. She admires him from the front, from the back, doesn't talk about it at all to anyone. And at night she has a dream that she's having an affair with him, okay? She wakes up shaking, saying, oh my God, I've never had an affair. I am religious, or, for me, in terms of my morals, my ethics, I would never have an affair. Well, she had an affair at night. In other words, she wants to get closer or express a desire about wanting to experience some more, you see, because this is really what it is. It's not necessary. So when you begin to relate it to waking life, the first thing to do, certainly as a therapist and a dream interpreter, is to reassure the person, hey, calm down, wait a minute. It doesn't mean you're going to have an affair. It doesn't mean you're God's going to punish you or banish you. No, calm down. You dreamt you're having an affair with the neighbor because you felt a desire or an arousal about him. That's all. So you may want to do something about it in waking time. Getting closer to the neighbor, but maybe because you say that your husband is very important, you may want to start talking about some ways in which with each other you can begin to express some more, let's say, creative sexuality, or some more attentive sexuality, or doing some breathing techniques or certain positions with each other, you see, so you can be at peace that it is your spouse, so you don't have to feel guilty it's someone else. But you're giving each other more time, attention, and from a physiological and a physical point of view, you see?
The point that you're making, and it ties back to what we were discussing before, is that the dream could be the mind's way, the unconscious mind's way of telling us to ask for what we want in life, because it's not going to happen unless we ask for it.
Bravo. What you're really referring to, my dear, is everyone is responsible for their life, and God gave every soul the gift of free choice. So we have to take responsibility for our life. We chose it. I want more attention, I need to ask for it. And if I feel so shy and unsure, that me as someone I trust, just a little, and always go one little step at a time. How can I not go from 0 to 100? I am shy and reticent. I'm going to ask for sex. Oh, no. Wait, a little at a time. Begin to ask for a little more time. Begin to ask for a little more attention. And eventually, what it is that you really want more specifically, you see. So your point is very well taken. So the importance of every soul is responsible for his or her life.
Absolutely. My guest, Doris E. Cohen. She's the author of Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain, Discover the Secret Language of the Night. Fascinating, Doris. Please tell our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about your work.
Okay. They can get my first book, Past Lives, Life, and Rebirth. Repetition is the title of the book, and then colon, Past Lives, Life, and Rebirth. And my second one, the current Dreaming on Both Sides of the Brain. You can get both from good old Amazon. All you have to do is just give the title of the book, and you can order them through Amazon.
And your website?
Now, pardon me?
Your website?
Yeah, my website is Dr. Doris E. Cohen, Cohen with a C, .com. And this is my website, and you can get a lot of information because I also I do psychic intuitive work, and I work with guides and angels of the light. I do readings, and I do also readings that are specifically aimed at dealing with dreams, so that people can focus on their dreams, give them a set of tools to begin not only to record but to understand the dreams, and then use the information in waking time, because this is going to speed up and enhance and enrich and deepen their journey through life when they're awake.
A fascinating topic. Doris, thank you so much for joining us on Destination Unlimited. Respond?
Hi, I am delighted to have joined you. By the way, I love the name of your program.
Absolutely, because in essence, our dreams are Destination Unlimited, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.